Dear all, today we are going to see the sentence pattern. The sentence pattern is very useful because it's helpful to you in three ways. The first one is you can create a variety of sentences if you know the sentence pattern and its kinds. Next one is you can understand and improve the style of your writing, the style of your speaking, as you know all the types of sentences. Third one is it ultimately improves your comprehension skills also. Before just dealing with the sentence pattern, you should know about the elements of sentences. S stands for, as you know, subject. The subject always refers the performer of an action, one who does an action. Next one is the verb. The verb is an action word. What is performed by the subject is called a verb. It may be related to an action or an event or a state. For example, it may be an action like he plays, she goes, she draws. So here, plays, go, draw, all are referred to an action. But if we say coffee is hot, here the is states about the status of the coffee, whether it's a liquid or a solid, or it's a hot or a cool. Okay, so a verb is referring an action or a state or an event. The third element is object. The object of a sentence is the person or a thing that receives an action. For example, he writes a letter. He is a subject, one who does the action or perform the action. And what is performed? Writing. He writes. Who is the receiver? A letter. So he writes a letter. Here he is a subject and writes is a verb and a letter is an object. Next one is complement. A complement is a word or a word group that completes the predicate in a sentence. Always, but take a note, always it followed after the be form verbs, as well as the verbs like become, becomes. You know, I hope the be form verbs is, or, where, will be, am. Next element in sentence pattern is an adjunct. An adjunct is an optional word. It's an added word. It's an extra word of a sentence. Even if we remove the adjunct from a sentence, even if it is removed or discarded, it will not affect the remainder of the sentence or the remaining part of the sentence or the meaning of the sentences. The first type or the first pattern of a sentence is the minimum part, that is a SV pattern, where the subject and the verb comes. For example, Amar smiled. If we want to just go for more examples, we can say Surjit came. The captain shouted. We danced. He asked. Here the Surjit, the captain, we, he, all are the performer of an action, the subject. Whereas came, shouted, danced, asked are the verbs or the actions. The next pattern of a sentence is SVC pattern. I already just informed that the complement always followed by the be form verbs. Let's see some examples. Amar is a dancer. Here, dancer is a complement of the subject Amar. Okay, it's followed by the be form verb sees. So we can call it as a subjective complement also, because the dancer and the Amar are referring to the same person. The subject is the dancer is a complement of the subject Amar. That's all. Amar and the dancer referring to the same person. Let's see some more examples. Veer is a driver. Harsha became a dacoit. We are engineers. Joshua is a teacher. Here, Veer and driver referring to the same person. Harsha and dacoit referring to the same person. We and the engineers refer to the same people. Joshua and teacher refers to the same person. So, the driver, decoyed, engineers, teacher are the complements of the subject Veer, Harsha, we, Joshua. So, these kind of complements are called subjective complement. The next pattern is SVO pattern, where a subject followed by a verb and ended with an object. For example, Amar writes a letter. Here Amar is the performer, writes as an action, and the receiver is a letter. Always the object answers the question what. If the object answers the question what, or if any word that answers the question what, then we can consider it as an object. For example, Amar writes what? Amar writes what? Amar writes a letter. So a letter is an object. Let's see more example. Sita met Ram. Shiva called for a strike. Mitra loves ice creams. Geeta planted a tree. Geeta planted what? A tree. Mitra loves what? Ice cream. So these are Ram, strike, ice creams, tree. Those are all called object of a sentence. The next pattern is subject, verb, indirect object and direct object. In the previous sentence we have seen only an object, but now we are going to elaborate an indirect object and a direct object. A direct object answers the question what, whereas an indirect object answers the question whom. Let's see an example. Amar writes me a letter. Amar writes what? A letter. So a letter is a direct object. To whom? To me. So me is an indirect object. We can just reframe the sentence pattern like this also. Amar writes a letter to me. Here the sentence pattern is SVDOIO. Amar is a subject, writes as a verb, me is an indirect object as it is answers the question to whom, and a letter is a direct object, it answers the question what. If you want to rearrange the sentence, we can remake it. Amar writes a letter to me. Here the sentence pattern is subject, verb, direct object and indirect object. Let's see some more example for this one. Dejal wished me a happy new year. Here Dejal is a subject, wished is a verb, me is a indirect object, and happy new year is a direct object. Dejal wished what? And happy new year. To whom? To me. Dejal wished happy new year to me. We can rearrange it in a different way also. Dejal wished me happy new year. Here the sentence pattern is subject, verb, direct object and indirect object. Let's see another example. The secretary gave him a medal. The secretary is a subject, gave is a verb, him is an indirect object, and the medal is a direct object. The secretary gave what? The medal. So medal is a direct object. To whom? To me. So me is an indirect object. We can rearrange the statement as follows. The secretary gave the medal to me. Here the sentence pattern is subject, verb, direct object and a indirect object. The next pattern of a sentence is SVA pattern, A stands for adjunct. Adjunct means an additional word. Even if we remove the word, it never affects the meaning of the sentence. Let's see some examples. Amar writes legibly. Here Amar is a subject and writes is a verb. The sentence completes its meaning by itself. But however, we have added an additional word, an extra word, that is an adjunct, legibly. Let's see some more examples. Raj came to the party. Subject, verb and adjunct. SVA. They go suddenly. The bus arrived late. It rained heavily. So almost all the adverbs are adjunct. At the same time, if you want to remember adjunct, you can just take a clue. It almost in all the cases it followed by a prepositions. For example, the first sentence, Raj came to the party. To the party. To is a prepositions. The party followed it. So we can call it as an adjunct. Whereas in the second, they go suddenly. Suddenly is an adverb. So all the adverbs are adjunct, as well as the words which followed with the prepositions are adjunct. The next type of sentence is ASV pattern, whereas the adjunct comes initially to make an emphasis. The same sentence we can use. Instead of writing Amar writes legibly, we can say legibly Amar writes. Let's see the example. There he comes. We can say it, he comes there. But in order to make an emphatic sense, we are using there in the beginning of the sentence. There he comes. Suddenly she has gone. It's equivalent to the meaning of she has gone suddenly. But in order to make an impact or effect of the sentence, we are just using the adjunct suddenly in the beginning of the sentence. Suddenly she has come, or suddenly she has gone. Nicely he replied, yesterday I came. The next and the final type of sentence pattern is SVOC. C is a complement, but earlier we have seen the subjective complement, but now we are going to see the objective complement, the complement which or the word which complements the object. Let's see some examples. Amar paints the gate green. Here Amar is a subject, paints is a verb, the gate is a object, green is a complement to the gate. Here green is related to the gate, not to Amar. Okay, so we call it as an objective complement because it complements the object. It gives some additional sense to the object. Let's see some more example. They elected him captain. Here they is a subject, elected is a verb, him is an object, and the captain is referring to him, not to they. It's not to the subject but to the object. So it's an objective complement. SVOC pattern. They made him manager. Here the manager is him, not they. So here the sentence pattern is SVOC. They is a subject and made is a verb, him is an object, and made is a complement. The news made me happy. The news is a subject, made is verb, me is an object, and happy is a adjunct. Complement. Next, she made her son a doctor. She is a subject, made is a verb, her son is an object, a doctor is a complement of the object, her son. Here the doctor and her son refers to the same person. Okay, so don't get confused with the objective or subjective pronoun. Here the doctor, she is not the doctor, but her son is a doctor. Okay, so here the sentence pattern is SVOC. Thank you.